Hello and welcome to the Tech Writing Talk Show. I'm your host Sunita Giri. Before we dive into the today's topic, I want to take a moment to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has supported our very first podcast episode. Your encouragement, feedback, and engagement motivate us to keep bringing valuable content your way. Today, we are diving into a topic that is central to every technical documentation team's success: managing documentation efforts and team in a startup. However, managing documentation isn't just about creating content, it involves making strategies, aligning with business goals, building the right team, and ensuring that the documentation adds value at every step of the process. Today, we are going to explore what it takes to lead a documentation team successfully, the challenges involved, and the skills required to excel in this role. To help us unpack all of this, we have an experienced leader in the documentation field joining us who has a wealth of experience in navigating the challenges and opportunities of this role. With over 2 decades of extensive experience, she began her career as a software developer. She later switched to technical writing, where after starting as an individual contributor, she transitioned to the role of technical documentation manager. Currently, she leads the Information Development Department at Grey Orange, where her leadership and expertise drive impactful results. While she specializes at driving documentation projects at startups, her prior experience includes large organizations like Salesforce and Oracle. She specializes in product development, content creation, and business intelligence within the SaaS domain, demonstrating a strong expertise in agile methodology. What truly sets her apart is her approach to measuring success. She evaluates her success by the success of the team she leads. Her leadership motto is "No one left behind." What a beautiful motto she has. Outside of her professional commitments, she dedicates her free time to her passion for the arts, serving as an art teacher through her own venture, Bangalore Lalit Kala Kshetra. Please welcome Mridula Menon with us.
Hello,
Thank you,
everyone.
Mridula, with us today.
It's my pleasure, Sunita, to be here with you, sharing my thoughts with everyone who is going to watch this podcast.
Thank you so much. So, let's start by understanding your journey and the core aspect of your role, Mridula. As someone who has led documentation team, what do you want people to take away from your experience as a manager? Over to you, Mridula.
Yeah. So, first of all, Sunita, I believe that everybody have their own journey, and we cannot walk somebody else's path. So, when you ask me what is the takeaway from my journey, so I would say that please follow your own, create your own path and make your own journey. But yes, I can share some of the mistakes I made, and you can perhaps not repeat the same mistake. Maybe do some mistake of your own, which is better than mine, maybe. So having said that, one of the things that I realized, Sunita, is that when I joined Grey Orange, which is into, as you know, into warehouse automation, I had no clue about warehouse or automation. And what is all this robotics and anything? I was not at all from that field, right? So once I joined, what I did is that I tried to learn everything on my own, which made it much more tedious and time consuming. So when we join as a documentation manager, we tend to try to learn everything so that we are we are at par with our team that we are taking over, right? But the mistake I did, that would not like any other doc managers to do, is that I tried to do everything of my own, whereas I should have immediately asked for help, and I should have emphasized on being trained, right? So this is one thing that I will strongly emphasize on, that if you are venturing into a new domain, you're going to take up a team that is already writing on a domain you're not aware of. First, don't feel inhibited to ask for being trained. It doesn't matter if you're working as a manager or a senior manager. It is always a very good opportunity to learn something new. So this is a takeaway I would like others to take from me, more like a mistake that I did when I had started off at Gray Orange, and somebody can avoid this mistake.
Thank you, Mridula. I would like to share a few lines with my listeners. Sharing success is very common, guys, but sharing failure is something is about to learn. Delegating work and asking for assistance should be considered as a positive approach for growth. So now, Mridula,
Abs-
taking you to the next question, let us talk about preparation. If someone is looking to transition into a documentation manager role, what
Mhm.
should they prepare for? Are there specific areas they need to focus on, whether it is a technical leadership or a strategic planning? Over to
Right.
you, Mridula, please.
So it will be, I would say, it will be a mix of everything. But most importantly, what one needs to understand is, especially when they are going to become a manager for the first time, because for everything there is a first time, right? So when a tech writer is moving from an IC role to a managerial role, the first thing they need to understand is that it is no longer about I'm going to get this done, or I'm going to do it, right? So as an IC, we are given a project, and especially, as you know, Sunita, after a certain stage in tech writing career, we become individual contributors in the truest
Yeah,
sense, because we take the whole ownership of the project and we deliver it and we give the status update to our boss. There is no intervention as such, right? So
yeah,
when such person, having worked in that role for say 10, 15 years, is now getting promoted to a manager, the first thing to unlearn is that it is no longer about what you can do, but it is
yeah,
more about how you are going to enable the team reporting to you and get the project done through them. So it is no
yes.
longer about your own success, but it is about the success of your team. So this is the biggest unlearning and learning that anyone needs to go understand and go through when they are transitioning into the documentation manager role. The second thing is the entire project planning and delegation, as you rightly said. So, how you are going to measure up the projects that are to be delivered by your department, and how you are going to assign them to the individuals in your team. Because it is no longer about that I am going to sit and learn a new technology and I am going to get this done. It is not like that. It is about you have a team in front of you, and you need to delegate tasks to that team appropriately, understanding their strengths and weaknesses. And you need to also see which are the areas you need to train them on. So these are some of the things. And as a doc manager, another thing that has a very important learning value is that how you are going to up manage and down manage. So it is not only about managing your team, but also how you are making your team visible to the senior management. So as long as a person, as a tech writer, is an individual contributor, this whole responsibility of highlighting the team does not lie in their hand. But the moment they become a manager, that becomes a very crucial responsibility of that person.
Very, very correctly said, Mridula, and you explained it so well. So, what I could understand from this discussion that being a manager is not solely dependent on the technical aspects, on say technical learning. However, unlearning to contribute as an individual, then learning to nurture your team, that is much more important for being a manager. Yes, very,
That's
very nicely said, Mridula. Thank you so much for this answer.
yeah, well,
Now, let's move towards our next question. Mridula, building and growing a documentation team is no easy task. That is definitely a truth. So, from your perspective, what are the key efforts needed to create a cohesive and effective documentation team?
very good question,
Over to
Sunita.
you,
Thank
Mridula.
that. Um, the thing is that when we take up a team, the first thing that we need to build is trust. So, before anything else, if a team is able to trust the leader, they will be there for the leader even during the times of need, right? Similarly, when you are taking up a documentation team, when we talk about the leadership, you have to build credibility there. So, in the higher uh, path, you have to build credibility, and in the reporting chain, you have to build trust. So this is the first, the I would say this is the ground. You have to build this ground really strong, and then on this ground you can build other things. So when you talk about creating a documentation team, yes, you, as you rightly said, it is not a easy task. So one of the key requirements is that how you are selecting candidates for your team. So if you are solely relying on the resumes that are coming in from the HR, from the recruitment team, then you might not get the correct candidate. So at times, as a hiring manager of a documentation team, you would also need to look a little deeper into the resume and not just reject the resume based on keywords and all that. That is one thing I strongly believe in. So
Okay.
that is another very, very crucial, forte of a documentation manager, that how you are selecting team members at the beginning. Now, suppose you have become the manager of a team where you are going to manage the existing team and not hire anyone else. Then how you will gauge, right? How you're going to run the team.
Yes.
In such cases, you have to build a skill matrix. So when you build a skill matrix, you very clearly you have the data in front of you. You have the knowledge that which team member is doing what, and what are the strengths and weaknesses, and where they need training. Which kind of projects will challenge them and they will find it interesting, because gone are the days, Sunita, where people only worked for money. Money is very important, but now
Yes.
people
Yes.
want, especially we have a lot of discussion around Gen Z. Gen Z is a generation that loves to be challenged, right? So you want
Yes.
to
Yes.
give them something that is very interesting and that is challenging for them. And of course, you cannot just give challenging stuff to somebody and not give them support. So when
Yes.
you, as a doc manager, you are giving challenging projects to your team, then equally you are responsible to give them the adequate support, training, and whatever is required to help them be successful in their career.
Thank you, Mridulas. Very, very truly said. This Gen Z generation is looking into the creativity. We should definitely focus on that. And selection of team is also plays a very important role in building a team, building credibility, building trust. These are the key aspect um, of building a team. Only we cannot ask for taking so many people from this team, and we cannot build them. That is a very truth. Uh, and every manager should focus on those things. And I think we are already in the path of doing that. So very nicely elaborated, Amritla. Thank you for that. So, Mridula, since our podcast is very much focused on the startups, so I am just going to switch gears a bit. So, Mridula, what about startups? They operate differently from larger organizations, right? So, what is unique about being a documentation manager in a startup environment, and what kinds of opportunities do you see there? Over to you, Mridula.
Yeah, thank you. So it is again, a question very close to my heart, because what I believe changes in the startup is that when you join as a documentation manager, you cannot be only focusing on people and projects. There, in with a small size team, you would also need to be totally involved with the writing process also. That is something very
Yeah.
different in startups. Like, you have to own up a project just like your team members. So I see it like this, Sunita, like you have joined a startup and now you have to be in the trenches with your team, with your soldiers, holding the gun and doing, learning and teaching how to, load the gun and do all the warfare tactics and all those things. And at every moment, you have battles to win in a startup. So, I want to just share this anecdote that the first time I met my team in person in Delhi, and we were in this war room, rightly coined. So, so I said, guys, this is not a project planning. This is war, and we need strategies to win this war. Okay, so the war will go on, but there will always be battles that needs to be fought and won, and some of the battles you will lose. And it is all about, like in a startup as a doc manager, it is all about, even if you have lost a battle, have you lost hope, right? Have you
Yes.
given up on your determination to succeed? So those are the core values of doc managers who take up roles, such challenging roles at a startup, that how you are going to lead from the front when you need to face a challenge, and how you are going to be at the back and push your team forward when it comes to distribution of medals. So when we are talking about success in startup, it is very important, doc managers, to be just stand behind your team and let your team shine through, right? Let all the visibility spotlight come onto your team, because your own success will be measured by the success of your team. So this is something that I have practiced, and I have succeeded at Grey Orange, and I'm very proud of my team, and I'm proud to say that we have come a long way. And today I feel every person at Grey Orange knows what we do, and also values the artifacts that we produce, be it documentation, be it videos, be it release notes. So yeah, I think we won a major battle, but yes, there are more battles to win.
Really nice, Mridula. So, if I summarize your journey as a documentation, like at the time of setback, you say you stand with I, and at the time of winning game, you stand with we. Will it be correct?
Yes, absolutely. And I have to share this with you. The first time as I said, I was meeting my team in person, and I said, this is like a war zone and we are going to win this battle and all. And, at the end of it, I did ask, how's the Josh? But now it sounds very cheesy because it has been overused so much. So I don't use it anymore. But yes, I have a fantastic team, and I thank God for that.
Beautiful, and congratulations for building such a nice team, Mridula.
Thank
It's
you.
really great. So, Mridula, there's a lots of things to learn from you. So now your next, since being a documentation manager, you are dealing with senior manager, senior management, right? So
Yeah.
one of the bigger aspect of manager's role is working with senior management and
Yes.
stakeholders. What efforts are needed to establish such credibility and alignment with these groups, Mridula? Over to you,
Yes.
Mridula.
Thank you. So, when we become a senior manager at any organization, it is very important, as I had mentioned earlier, to establish our credibility. Now, how to establish this credibility may differ from organization to organization. But what, in my experience, what I have seen is that we can truly establish our credibility the moment we are facing a particular challenge and overcoming it, and that is resulting in a huge impact on the senior management. Like it could be something like a very important release notes had to be done immediately, and how
Okay.
we have delivered it on time, how a major change, for example, we have created customer centric portals, which is going to help all our customers immensely, because it is no longer going to be generic, but it will cater to their specific needs, right? So when such projects, such impactful project becomes successful, we build our credibility. And after we build our credibility, when we reach out to the leadership, they will be interested in listening to us, in understanding what we do, and also hearing us out as to what we need from them, right? So before establishing this credibility, if we try to reach out for to the senior management, then it might become more difficult. But after establishing our credibility, you will see a very, very different attitude as to how much keen they are to just hear you out. So I have seen that difference in my own experience. So I would say, before you start interacting with the senior leadership, it is very important to establish your credibility in the organization, and just show that what you bring to the table. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Overcoming any challenges with a positive approach is a key aspect to establish credibility in front of senior management. Yeah, that's
Right.
very
And
beautifully
I have one more
explained, very
point
beautiful.
here. I
Yeah,
have one more
yes.
point to make here, and that is, I have only mentioned about the senior management, but then
Mhm.
stakeholder, when it comes to
Yeah,
stakeholder, as the senior manager or as the manager, what I feel really works out well is that when you build an amazing rapport with the stakeholders. Now, at times I have seen, be it writers, be it leaders, they would reach out to stakeholders only when there is a requirement. So they might reach out to the stakeholder and say that, you know what, I have this requirement, will you be able to help me? But I have a different approach. I believe in establishing a genuine connection. It is not like just
mhm.
for the heck of it I'm talking to somebody, but uh, try to make a genuine connection. So if you listen to any of the top leaders like Melinda Gates and all speak, you will understand even they propose this particular approach a lot. Like at workplace, try to establish a genuine connection, and then when you reach out to the stakeholders, you are creating the path for your team also. So as a doc manager, Sunita, especially in startups, you are a person who is clearing out all the weeds and removing all the stones and creating that path for your team. So you are doing the hard work and creating the path so that your team can follow that path, right? So that is applicable for senior management. That is also applicable for stakeholders. So how well you are building your relationship with the stakeholders will, to a large extent, decide how much they are supporting your team.
Absolutely. Building connections, understanding pain areas of the stakeholders, and genuinely understand what are the challenges they are facing, and empathize them. These are the things which really create trust among the team as well as with the stakeholders and senior management. Really, you are absolutely correct, Mridula. I must thank you for that, for these tips. So, moving ahead, Mridula, today we are, so much discussion about this burnout and all. So, in the wake of this recent discussions around coping with work pressure and maintaining mental well-being, burnout has
Mhm.
become a serious concern. So,
Yeah.
as a manager, how do you ensure that your team stays motivated and productive without feeling overwhelmed? What strategies do you implement to support their mental health and prevent burnout, Mridula? Over to you.
Yeah, this is a very, very pertinent question in today's date, especially when we work in a startup. We join a startup with the understanding that the workload will be more and there will be more work pressure, right? So that is already there. It is an expectation that is sent, that is set before joining a startup. But
Yeah.
everything said and done, yes, we are mentally prepared for it, but there is a human threshold that cannot be crossed, right? So we have to ensure that we are being able to say no to certain things. And I always say that it is an art, that how you can say no, right?
Yeah.
Without spoiling the relationship that you have invested in. This is one thing. And another thing is that I always tell my team that do not wait for somebody at home to fall sick. Do not wait for yourself to fall sick. Do not wait for kids' PTM, kids' exam, all these things to take leave, right? It is okay to take a day off just for yourself. Don't do it for anyone else,
Yes.
just for yourself. Go to a spa, have some time off. If you have nothing to do, then just be, I love to take a day off. I don't even tell my daughter it's a day off for me. And I like to just be, in a nothing box, and it is so relaxing, where you are like completely calm, and you just want to be by yourself, and you are just trying to calm down and be settled, and your energy levels shoot up the very next day once you
Yeah.
calm yourself
Yes.
completely,
Yes. Yes.
doing something that you love to do, right? So this is something I encourage a lot in my team. But unfortunately, many folks, what they do is that they try to accumulate their leaves to take a longer vacation, or
Yeah.
carry it
Yes.
forward to the next year. So I will not 100% discourage that, because it is individual choices. But this is more important to take breaks in between, especially when you are in a startup. So if the release has just happened, and there is a slack period immediately after a release, just take a day off. Do not take a day off in a way that it affects your deliverables, of course. But
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you have the opportunity, just take a day off, relax, re-energize, and come back to work. This is one thing. And another thing that we follow like a religion of the PKE team, we call our team is called the PKE, Product Knowledge Enablement Team. So we follow this like a religion, is that every Monday we have a team meeting, right? Where each and every member gives their status update about their work. So the team meeting is kept for 1 hour. So the first half, we dedicate to status updates, and the second half hour is compulsorily nothing about work. So we have to
Okay.
compulsory talk about anything under the sun, but not work. So a lot of movies come into the picture, bad movies, good movies. And we have some movie buffs in our team who who share a lot of
Okay.
movie names. Make a note of it. Okay, okay, next weekend we are going to watch this. Like that. Then we have two beautiful singers. At times they sing a song, and we have a guitarist, so at times he plays his guitar. So and also element of fun, that is, I love to keep this sense of humor with me, so that things are much more lighter when it is needed. So these things, I think, contribute to keeping the atmosphere very lively, and that to a large extent controls this burnout issue, I feel.
Yeah, very, very true. So, as a manager, it is very important to understand, to keep yourself, keep your team away from all the unnecessary workload, to understand that what is in scope, rather than, besides that, it is important to understand what is not in scope. So, as a manager, that is very much important to highlight. And Mridula also emphasized on taking day off whenever, even if it is not necessary, just to energize yourself. It is very important to take day off. And yes, guys, stand up call can also be fun filled whenever your workload permits. Manager can encourage to have a stand up call in a week, in a one day in a week, which can be fun filled. So please, uh, understand her point and uh, incorporate in your team. Now, Mridula, I'm coming to my last question as we are about to wrap up our call. So, Mridula, what do you think are the biggest challenges for a documentation manager? Could you share some of your own experience that aspiring managers should be aware of?
Yes.
Over
Um,
to you, Mridula.
right. Thank you, Sunita. So one of the key challenge is that if you are in an atmosphere where the value of documentation is not yet realized, so there,
Okay.
driving the whole value system of that is there around documentation has to be driven by you as a manager. So don't put that onus on the team members that they are going to drive it. First, the manager has to drive the value, and this value has to be driven, to the senior management, to the stakeholders, and to everyone around with whom your team is going to work with. And then you have to also train your team that how they need to feel really proud of what they do, because this is something that I see lacking in a lot of people. They although they are tech writers, they feel that they are not being able to make a difference. So that also needs to change. So as a doc manager, I would first help my team understand that what value they are adding to the overall success of the organization. This communication is very important, because if a person doesn't know how they are contributing to the overall success of the organization, how will they set their goal, or what kind of motivation they will be left with, right? So that communication is very important. That when see, normally in India in general, I have seen that whenever some mistake happens, right, we are very enthusiastic to highlight it. But whenever something good happens, we do not find the same amount of enthusiasm to highlight it. So
Yeah.
here, when it comes to documentation, we have to be very, very enthusiastic about the positive impact of documentation and call it out in whichever forum possible, be it LinkedIn, be it in podcasts like this, be it at meetings at work. It is very important for every tech writer to take a lot of pride in what the work they do, and also in the overall impact of what they do. This is one thing. And the other challenge that I have seen is the budget itself. So, as a documentation team is more considered as a support function, at times there is always a struggle for budget. So, when budget is not available and still training needs to happen for the team members, it is very important the team members are becoming a are participating in groups like TWT. So
Yes.
TWT has a group for almost everything, starting from
Yeah.
CSS to DITAs to regional groups, and of late Puneet has even motivated regional meetups, right? So I would say
Yes.
that
Yes.
it is very important for tech writers to attend these events because they don't cost you, right? They are free, and you get to
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
from other writers. So these are some of the challenges that I have seen. One is that of recognition, and other is self worth, and the other is the whole learning opportunity that we get as doc team members. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very rightly said. As a manager, we have to drive the value and making our team understand what value they are bringing through the documentation. And in my past experience, I have also seen the same budget problem. They uh, uh, Organization doesn't like to if I word the word like, that would be really right word. They don't bother to allocate budget to the tech documentation team. And we are very lucky that we are in an era where community like TWT is there to recognize us, to acknowledge our efforts and all, and we have free hand to uh, do mistakes and learn from them. So yeah,
Okay.
very, very truly I have
And
a yeah. Yes,
yeah,
Mridula.
I forgot to mention one more challenging task of a doc manager, and that is to set the correct KRAs, because
Mm,
that is
yes,
very, very important, because unless and until you have the data, you will never be able to show that data to the leadership. So setting the
yes,
correct KPIs and KRAs are very, very important for any doc team, and based on that you can really drive home a lot of things, which will be
yeah,
much more convincing with data, which will
yes,
not
yes,
be
yes, yes,
convincing otherwise. Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. Very, very correct, very correctly said. Yeah, Mridula. So this question brought us to our end of session. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experience today.
Yes.
Uh, Truly, truly a pleasure to have you on the show, Mridula. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having me, Sunil. It was a lovely
thank you, thank you.
thank you.